Okay, welcome to the information session on the Honours in Film Theory and Practice. My name is Dr. Ian Malcolm Raisdake, and I'm joined by Dr. Julia Kane, and we are the sort of two stream heads for this particular stream. And we're just going to take you through some of the application questions that people have been asking about the program, some information on the various courses, and on the structure of the two streams themselves, the documentary stream and the screenwriting stream. Okay, so that's our names there. And the important thing to realize is that the program actually has two components within it. It's like a split stream. So there's a documentary film production or a screenwriting stream. Then you can't do both. You would need to choose one or the other.
Okay, and I know Alexia also talked about the name of this program, that this is the Film Theory and Practice, which can be a little bit confusing, but Film Theory and Practice is that there's a practical component, whether it's documentary filmmaking or the script writing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the program structure is that regardless of which stream you do, whether it's the documentary production stream or the screenplay stream, you take, it's a one-year program, honors, and you take 4 taught courses and a creative research project. If you go into the documentary production stream, you have 2 compulsory courses. The main one is FAM 4000W, so it's a whole year course. It's called Video Project. It is documentary though, just to note, plus FAM 4039F, which is a first semester documentary theory course. And then you have to choose 3 electives. And I'll let Ian speak about the next one, and we'll go into more detail of the different courses as we go along.
Okay, so the screenplay stream, similar structure. 4001W is the screenplay code for this section. And then you have an option there. It looks a little confusing, but it's quite straightforward. There are 2 screenwriting courses in the year. The first semester, FAM 4040F writing for film, and then FAM 4033S writing for TV. So you must do one of those as your compulsory course, but you can do both. A lot of students end up doing both because they want to get the foundation then and the focus on television. And then depending on whether you do both of those or not, you'll do 2 or 3 elective courses. So the idea in both cases is to try and balance your year out. So you have 2 courses in the first semester and 2 in the second. But there are occasions where some students choose to do 3 in the first semester if they can, if it's possible, and then they only have 1 elective in the second semester so they can concentrate on their project. But generally, we have a fairly limited number of electives, so you will need to decide on which one you're going to do, and that'll essentially give you the structure for your year.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with going into a little bit more detail about the core courses for the video production option. So FAM 4000W, as I said, runs all year. I'm the course convener for this one. And basically with this course, ultimately, like the big picture is that you work in a group of 3 to 5 students to make a 26-minute documentary over the course of the year. But we start the year, the first assessment is that everyone in the class works on and pitches a concept pitch, an idea for a 26 to 30-minute documentary. And then the class actually votes and chooses which one they want to do. And then after that, the class organizes themselves into teams, and the rest of the year is spent working as part of that team on their specific production. So there's various pre-production deliverables due over semester 1. So quite a lot of time working on pre-production. There's a treatment pitch, there's a written proposal, a script, and what else is there?
A blog, isn't there?
That comes later. That comes later. So in the second semester, there's not, most of the final deliverables come in at the end of the year, but there is a reflective assignment. And so for this year, for example, we're allowing students to do either a video essay or a series of blogs. But the focus of them is the same. They can just deliver or respond reflectively in different ways. Just to note that project supervision is done by myself over the course of the year. But what I also do, and we've had really positive feedback on this, is organize what we're calling roundtables over the course of the year. So there's even roundtables in the first semester around getting feedback on going into preparing for the treatment pitches, as well as going into production. And for the script. And then there's a lot of emphasis on the editing roundtables that happen over the course of the second semester. And for that, I try and bring in invited guests, usually other lecturers from the department. But it brings the whole class together. They share their rough cuts, their works in progress as they go along. So it's a really good space for sharing and for engagement, for getting inspired, for having deadlines along the way, etc. And my last note on this course is that if you want to do this course, you actually have to come, we assume you're coming into the course with production skills already. So you'll need to demonstrate that in your application, or we might know you if you've come through screen production at UCT already. The second, sorry, Ian, did you want to add?
No, sorry. No, I thought it was going into the other one, yeah.
Okay, and then the second core course, if you're going into the documentary production stream, is the theory course that happens in the first semester. Again, I convene this course, but it really is a team of colleagues that deliver this course, as well as we usually have 2 invited filmmakers that come in and host 2 sessions as well. So it is, we expect lots of engagement. You know, it's quite a heavy course load if you really engage properly. We look at different films and different readings every week. And yeah, there's essays to be delivered, but also engagement through blogging. And I'm thinking of introducing, to give a break from weekly blogging, to introduce little very short multiple choice question online tests or quizzes, but it really is just to make sure everybody is reading and viewing so that they can engage properly in the seminar sessions. And over to you.
Great. So this 4001W project is actually a combination of the project and the thesis that the film television studies students write. So the 4001 is either a screenplay or it's the dissertation. The convener for the whole of that is Dr. Modisani, but I will be looking after the screenplays in particular for this section. So again, it's doing 2 things in one. So for obviously students doing script writing, the key things, they must produce a creative script. So the one restriction is that you're not doing a research dissertation under this course code. You're doing the script. And the script is very flexible. We are, you know, a lot of students do features, but increasingly students are looking at doing a series, in which case they would do roughly 2 times 40 minutes episodes. Some students are looking to do comedy, which would be 4 times 20 minutes. So the length will roughly add up to somewhere between 80 and 90 minutes of screen time. So, and that is negotiated between the student and their supervisor. So it's pretty much straightforward. It's something where we obviously want students to get going as soon as possible during the year. We do pitching sessions during the FAM 4040F course to give you a sense of how to pitch your idea. But a lot of students will come into this with a sense of what they want to write, which is fine. And then there's obviously a series of deadlines in the second semester when you do your first draft and your second draft and your submission. So it's quite straightforward. And then these are the 2 core courses for the stream. So I convene the first semester one, writing for film. And the emphasis here really is on, we do a series of shorter exercises that develops particular skills. So we look at pitching, we look at writing dialogue. We do a series of kind of what are they called, obstructions. So writing a script that features no dialogue, writing a script that has only one location. And the emphasis really more and more for me has been on is on encouraging writers to write for small spaces. It's become particularly clear to me during COVID that that's been something that a lot of people have had to deal with. But it's a skill, I think, to be able to write under restriction, and it creates a very, very important engagement with creative process, with your own creative process. So in 4040F, it's a series of short exercises, and then the major project is a 10 to 12-minute short film at the end of that. And then the second semester course, Writing for Television, is convened by our new colleague, Mr. Dylan Valley, who's previously from UCT, but recently from WITS. And he's specializing in web series. So he's got a special interest in his own PhD research in that area, and he has taught in that at WITS. He also has a background in documentary, so he's very multi-skilled. And the idea here is that we focus on the web series structure. You do a research paper that gets you to look at different types of web series online. And then the project there is to create 2 10 to 12-minute episodes of a web series. This year, because we've got a smallish group, students are doing it on their own, but if the group is larger, then we'll do a team writing. It was just quite hard this year to do the writing room idea that we had last year, but it'll depend on the size of the class.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ian. I think we just set out what the choice for electives are if you want to choose FAM courses, and they're set out here. And I guess, I don't know if we want to run through them in much more detail, but so you can just check the handbook for further detail. The conveners' names are in brackets, and you'll see that, for example, from my side, FAM 4039F documentary film, is compulsory if you're doing the documentary stream, but it's an option for you if you are doing Ian's stream and script writing.
Yeah,
Ian,
and I think important to note here, Julia, is that the one course that's not on this list is the core course for film television studies, Alexia Smith's course, because that has quite large numbers anyway as the core course for that stream. So that's the one option that's not open to students in film theory and practice. I think it's called, I can't remember what it is at the moment. But anyway, it's FAM 4037F, I think, is not open to students in this stream.
Yeah, so remember, these are, we're in the honors for film theory and practice, but Alexia convenes film and television studies honors. That's the name of that program. Yeah. Okay, great. And you'll see, and as well, just if you're in the documentary making stream, you have the option to take those writing courses that Ian leads as well, and Dylan. Okay. All right. Why film theory and practice? Why would you take this program? Ian, do you want to go with this, or should I?
I think you start. I'll chip in.
Okay. All right. So really, we just want to highlight the fact that you get practical and creative skills. That's what you develop over this year. But I think also what UCT's program is very good at providing, as well as also a strong foundation in the more theoretical aspects and contemporary debates related to film and television. So it's not a purely practical program, obviously. It's really tries to find a balance between equipping students to actually enter the workspace and industry after coming at it with an honors, but having them, having a solid grounding in the theory and the history of film and television as well. And also, in terms of trying to be quite practical, is that when you graduate at the end of this honors, you'll either have a 30-minute documentary film and show reel to your name to show, or you'll have a completed feature-length script or series scripts. So that, and our idea is that they're, distribution ready, and that it will help you gain entry into industry.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, so on a slightly different tack, one of the benefits of the fourth year and film theory and practice is that for those who are wanting to extend their studies overseas, for example, that fourth year is really, really important. And I have to say that pretty much every student that I've ever had who's applied for access to study abroad with this degree has got in, and they've got into good programs: UCLA, Tisch School of Arts in New York, Bingen Institute in the Netherlands, Sydney, London School, that, you know, the BFI, all these places. There's a great new program the BFI is running on archive, for example, and festival planning. So there's a whole range of further options, and this fourth year is the kind of entry point to that. And it's a good program, and we have a really high rate of success in terms of students being accepted into programs abroad. So that's another reason why the fourth year in general is a good idea. And I think Film Theory in Practice gives you a nice balance between a practical project. A lot of students feel that they want that, they like the theory, but they want that practical component as well. And on the other side, for students who've got a practical background, the year still requires them to do some theoretical work and to expand their knowledge of film through the electives, whether it's on environment or avant-garde or documentary. So I think, as with all of our courses, it's trying to kind of offer a synthesis of that creative and the research-based approach to study.
Fantastic. And so just to carry on with this, and just to brag a little bit, not easy to highlight scripts, but easy to just show some of the recent documentary productions that have come out of this program. And I think, as Ian has just said, you know, it's really, you know, your sort of entry card into industry or further study, in particularly abroad. So just the documentaries that have come out of this program, they've done extremely well. So last year's one was screened just recently screened in Encounters, first virtual film festival, and it was not put in the student section, it was put in the essay features section. So we were very happy about that. Title from 2018, I'm choosing a few films to highlight. This film's done extremely well, and it was our first documentary coming out of this program that's they've sold up for video on demand. So it's actually on Amazon Prime, Vimeo on demand, and Real House. And they've been approached by Showmax. And it's also screened at quite a few festivals and won a variety of awards as well. Fall into the Sky was also a 2018 film, and it also was screened at Encounters as well in terms of film festivals, but it's also, the filmmakers have done really well in terms of getting into much more sort of academic, intellectual, artistic spaces. And so, for example, the film was featured at the Zeitsmoker in an exhibit, and they were part of a panel discussion, which was really exciting as well. And the last one is, I can't not mention The Water Dancers, which was a film from 2017, but it won the SAFTA Award, the Best Student Film, when we entered that. And yeah, and this film has toured around the world and won a variety of awards. Okay, and now the final practical page in terms of hoping that you're now inspired and you want to apply. Ian, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, so this is very much what we understand the application process to be, because your applications are submitted obviously through they're submitted centrally through the UCT admissions page and not through the faculty. So it is quite complicated, and every year there are hang-ups in this process. So before I go through these 4 points here, what I will urge you to do is, if you are submitting, please just duplicate your proposal and just send it to me or Julia, so that we know that you have actually, you know, when you've pressed submit to the university, please send us the same documents so that we know that you have actually applied. Because if there is a hang up with your application, often the central admissions reject applications for the weirdest reasons, and then we find out that we don't, you know, that we have no idea you've even applied to begin with. So please just send us a duplicate of your material so that we've got you on record. And if there is a problem with your application, we can always work backwards through the system and find out where you are. The reason why sometimes central admissions kicks out applications is because they haven't fulfilled the requirements that are laid out there. One of the documents is missing. So missing documents is the major reason for why applications never reach us. So what we've put there are the 4 things that you need as part of your application process. The first is referees' names. That's a relatively straightforward thing. It can be your lecturers. Obviously, you should approach them first and ask them if they'll be willing to act as referee. You don't need a letter. You just need the name and the detail and the contact details of the referee for that section. Your letter of motivation is really important. Julie, you're going to go through that just now, I think, but it's, you know, again, rather like if you applied for production, think about why does it you want to do the qualification, what kind of film you want to make, or what kind of screenplay do you want to write. And it's not, again, about necessarily about passion. I think passion only takes you so far. We're looking for interesting ideas. We're looking for people with motivations to do work that's particular to what we offer at the university, so documentary and screenwriting. So give us a sense of what it is that you want to do with your film. And essentially, the letter of motivation is very forward-looking in that sense. The portfolio should be, as you would have done for a production application, video for the documentary, or a script for the creative writing stream. So I'll go into a little bit of detail just now about that. But you need to have a creative portfolio, and then you have to have a writing sample. And the writing sample is an academic research paper. So that would be a best essay that you've written or research that you've done that basically is there to indicate to us that you can handle the research elements of the course. And the key thing for us is that students who come into honors, the honors year is a big step up. It is still probably the hardest year I've ever had at university, was my honors year, because the workload is intense and the research requirements are a major step up from third year. So you're in a different level, and in order for you to navigate that successfully, it's important that your creative interests are backed up by research interests as well. If you're going to do a documentary, you're going to have to do research anyway, but we would like to see your abilities with academic writing and research. So that's what the writing sample refers to. So those 4 components are all requirements to accompany your main application.
Great, thanks, Ian. And then we just put together a few tips. So I think Ian's touched on a lot of this already, but write a good letter of motivation and put some time into it, as he mentioned. And yeah, we want to see your enthusiasm and your passion, absolutely. But we also are interested in your very specific experience, your drive, and your commitment, and just to, again, you know, as Ian has said, it's a demanding program. So we need people who are reliable, hardworking. You really have to commit to the program. Please, with the portfolio, be selective. Don't just send us a million links. Really highlight what's your best creative work. And we're not going to spend an hour watching an hour's worth of video for every applicant. So yeah, be selective, quality over quantity. And just to again emphasize what Ian's mentioned about the writing sample, it's an academic writing sample. And what I can add to that is that put your best work in, but if it is something you struggle with, another colleague and I have started some writing workshops and support, and UCT offers writing support. So we really want to insist from early on that if you need academic writing support, that you get it early on, so that you can manage the program. And just a couple other things on that portfolio submission is that it should be done, I've said as a PDF document, but Ian, you correct for your stream. But if you're applying for the documentary stream, provide links to a total of 5 minutes of video. And please remember, you must specify what production role you performed, you know, whether it was directing or sound recording or whatever, for each link that you provide. Please try and stick to that 5-minute limit. So if you, and top, you know, on the top of the list is your best work, selective, as I said. But if you want us to look at a couple different things, and you know, it's something that's 30 minutes long, then actually specify the section that you think we should look at. Maybe we'll look at more, but make sure that we see your best work within each section of video.
And then for screenwriting, I think the PDF is correct. I think PDF is the best way to, you know, once you've used whichever program you've used to make the final product a PDF. Preferably a short form script, and it must be formatted correctly. So the key thing for me is that I'm taking as given that people entering the stream have a basic understanding of screenwriting form. So we will go over some basics. I've got a sort of toolkit that I go through in all my courses about story generation and everything else. But I'm assuming that applicants will understand not only the form of script writing, but why it's important. But if you want to supplement your application, you can also submit stage plays. I've had some good stage writers before, theatre writers, or short fiction, just to give me a sense of the kind of stories that you're telling and the way in which you're working with the form. But if you haven't written for the screen before, I would certainly recommend that you write something, even if it's a 5-pager, or a scene from a longer piece that you've written, then that that you submit that as part of your portfolio.
Okay, and that brings us to the end. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and yeah, just thank you very much. And obviously you can contact either Ian or I directly by email if you have any further questions. And the deadline, Ian, am I correct? It's
The 31st of October. Yeah.
31st of October.
I mean, if you are having a problem, there's a huge issue every year around late submissions, in that we have accepted late submissions in the past. And if there are problems, particularly in the current circumstances with, for example, getting access to facilities to scan or to repro stuff because you are stuck where you are, then obviously just mail us and say, look, I'm struggling with the following thing, and then we know. There are ways in which we can accept late applications, but obviously it's harder to do after that deadline. So obviously, preferably, it would be nice to, we're going to meet quite soon after the 31st to begin the selection process. So if it ends up being too late, they might not, we might have already filled up all the spaces in the program. But just stay in contact with us if there is a problem so that we can manage it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a couple other sort of more admin thoughts. As I understand it, I looked at that application portal yesterday. If you're a UCT student, then I think UCT looks after sending us your unofficial transcript, because everything is a bit delayed at the moment. But if you're applying from outside of UCT, you will have to get copies of your unofficial transcripts to us. The academic year for next year, as we understand it, is March 15th start year, but apparently, apparently postgrad may be able to start earlier, but I don't understand how that would happen with honors.
It's contingent.
Yeah. Okay. And just to confirm that despite this crazy year, FAM 4000 has happened this year, and our students are in delayed, but in production, and they've got some delayed deadlines for this year. But they have managed, and it has happened.
Great.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, and looking forward to your applications.
Yeah, and good luck.